Ed, it's Ross. Always great to talk with you. I'm filling in for Dan today. Really appreciate the time. Can you just kind of lay out the scene and exactly what happened as you know it?
Yeah, Ross, here's what happened. On Wednesday morning in a walkthrough, Antonio blew up at Ben. It was brief. It wasn't long, but he was ticked off at something. So the two talked on Thursday morning, and they ironed things out. I mean, Ben said he was fine. Antonio was fine. Now, we don't know what set him off from there, but later on Thursday, before practice on Thursday, the players elected their MVP, as they've been doing for 50 years, one of the few teams that does this. And they elected Juju Smith-Schuster. And then that's when Antonio skipped practice Thursday. He was given off Wednesday by the coach, and that's not unusual. Ben doesn't practice Wednesday. A lot of the vets he gives off on Wednesdays. So he blew off Thursday's practice, blew off Friday's practice, did not show up Saturday for the walkthrough or the team meetings later, and then showed up at the game on Sunday morning expecting to play, and Mike made him inactive. So there you go. In an important, what could have been a vital game for them. You know, had Cleveland pulled that off in Baltimore, the Steelers would be in the playoffs. But had they lost because Antonio Brown didn't show up, that would have been a scandal, I think.
Oh my gosh! If they had lost that game and the Ravens lost and they would have made the playoffs, that would have been insane. I guess my question, Ed, is how many other things with Antonio Brown have happened to the point where he thought he could just show up on Sunday and still play in the game? I mean, is this like a common thing for him, skipping stuff?
No, it really isn't. He used to be their hardest worker. There's something going on. I don't know what it is. Something happening this year. You know, he's flipped out on any number of occasions. This was the most serious one football-wise. But, you know, he was accused of throwing stuff off a balcony in Florida. There's a lawsuit involved there where he allegedly hit the guy and his kid. He was ticketed for going 110 miles an hour on a busy McKnight Road in suburban Pittsburgh. He got into a sideline confrontation with the offensive coordinator one game and then blew off the Monday meetings. And Tomlin said he disciplined him for that. Didn't say what the discipline was. There's been all kinds of stuff. Blew up at me for nothing during training camp. Verbally attacked me. Threatened another reporter from ESPN physically in a tweet. It's been snowballing, Ross. It really has.
Wow, that's unfortunate. I will tell you, Ed, and we're talking with Ed Bouchette of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, who's at the Steelers facility. In my experience, Ed, I think the Juju Smith-Schuster MVP thing, it was a big deal because, you know, hell hath no fury like a scorned wide receiver because they know they need to get the ball. They're as dependent as anybody on the ball, and especially when it's like a long-time number one wide receiver and they kind of feel like that status is threatened. I've seen that happen a number of times. I don't think that's a coincidence at all, Ed.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ross, and I even suggested that they do away with that thing, that it's more a slight to others than it is an honor for the MVP. You're slighting others. Ben was slighted. Ben should have been their MVP. In fact, if they'd elected Ben, this probably wouldn't have happened because I think Antonio could have understood the quarterback. But, you know, one of the reasons Juju gets so many balls is because they double-team Antonio Brown.
Doesn't it feel like, Ed, you know, like for them to not vote Roethlisberger the MVP, it almost feels like a popularity contest.
Yeah, it is. He's won it only once in 15 years, Ross. You know, a lot of people say, they could name a quarterback every year. Well, they named him never, once in 15 years. I mean, how about throwing him a bone when he leads the league in passing yards?
Yeah, unbelievable. We're talking with Ed Bouchette. Ed, at noon today, I know you're at the Steelers facility, noon Eastern, Mike Tomlin's going to address the media. What do you think he's going to say?
Mike's too smart to to allow anything controversial to come out, I think. And what I mean by that is he put on the injury list of Antonio Brown all week, coach's decision / knee injury. And he said he had some discomfort. So I think he's just going to double down on that and say, hey, it was the knee. You know, that's why he didn't practice. You know, he had discomfort in the knee. And that kind of, you know, there's not going to be any gotcha there.
So, Ed, when you say to him, but what about Mike, the 3 days off and multiple sources telling me that he didn't show up till the game on Saturday, like, what's he going to say to that?
I don't know. You know, what about him blowing off Saturday? You know, even if you have a knee injury, you show up at the team meetings, right?
Yeah, and you get rehab. You get even in more trouble if you're hurt.
Oh no, he didn't rehab it. He didn't have any medical attention. That's one thing Mike said. He went for medical tests. It's our understanding he didn't.
Ed, there's no chance with the dead money that he'd actually be traded, right? I mean, it'd be like $21.5 million hitting the cap. There's no way that's going to happen, correct?
Ross, I just wrote this for my paper. I don't know if it's online yet or not. It's $22 million if he plays this year. That's his hit. $21 million if they trade him. So the hit is the same, basically. However, you're not paying him the $12.5 million salary or the $2.5 million roster bonus he's due March 18th. So there's what's that? $15 million off that 21. You could do a lot with that $15 million. Plus, you're not on the books for him after this year. If you truly believe he's a poison, I think you trade him, you go out and get some other wide receivers. Free agency, draft, however you want to trade, however you want to do it.
Sounds like the money they saved from not having to pay Le'Veon Bell any money. I mean, honestly, Ed, between the Le'Veon Bell stuff, the Antonio Brown stuff, Ben calling out some teammates publicly, you can't tell me that hasn't had some impact on this team underachieving, right?
Right. No, there's little doubt. I mean, Le'Veon Bell would have helped them this year. There's no doubt him and Connor would have been a nice team at the very least. If they, you know, if they went with Connor and Bell reported later when Connor got hurt, they could have plugged Bell right in there. Yeah, you lose great players, you're hurting yourself. But the Bell thing's done. You know, they move on from him. They're going to need another running back too. You can't just go with Connor and this rookie. You got to find another one. So if they move Antonio, and I talked to one personnel guy, said, I don't know how they can't get rid of him. You know, how do you live with that? People say, well, sit down and talk to him. They've done that for years. The man's 30 years old. He's not going to change.
Wow, it sounds like you think it might happen, Ed.
Well, I think it's possible. I don't know. You know, I thought they shouldn't have tagged Bell last year. They didn't listen to me there. You know, they do what they do. They don't panic. That's one thing they don't do, Ross. You know, one thing you have to do is you got to think without Antonio, who you throwing to? Juju, and I guess, I mean, you have to find somebody else. And James Washington, who they drafted last year, who started coming on a little late this year. You know, they still think they have a Super Bowl team, but I don't know how you live with this.
Ed, always appreciate the time. Really curious to see what Mike Tomlin ends up saying at noon today. Yeah, I bet. Thanks, Ed.
All right, Ross. Good to be with you.
There he is, Ed Bouchette of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.